Welcome back to the podcast Twitter video thing here. Myself, Canes, KJ34, the undisputed best gambler on Twitter, and myself, KSACK, are doing for all 67 games of this NCAA tournament in 2021. Round one is well underway. We have a few games ongoing with the first day of the round, and we're looking at quite a few upsets of brewing and a lot of unexpected results to start the day. We had Ohio State go down to Oral Roberts, and we also had Purdue go down to North Texas, along with a few other very tight-knit games. One of the losses, though, happened to be Virginia Tech. Canes, I know it's your team. What'd you think about the game?
It was depressing. Absolute roller coaster of emotions. But I'm definitely proud of the boys this year. They definitely exceeded expectations. Got Storm Murphy coming in next year, point guard from Wofford. He's going to be nice. I'm excited for next year. We'll bounce back.
Hey, they played a tight one, and they definitely had a chance to win there. So it was an exciting game, just like many of these NCAA tournament March Madness games are. I really think that some of these upsets were unexpected. What do you think about that, Canes?
Oh, yeah, I definitely didn't see a lot of them coming, especially Ohio State. I definitely didn't have them in my Final Four. My bracket's not busted, but
it
it's
seems
definitely been fun.
it seems like day one is the biggest roller coaster. You got so many brackets that just get absolutely pooped on. In all honesty, like it just goes downhill, and everyone's like, "Well, it's just time to root for the underdogs." So, who do you have winning your bracket, Canes?
I still think Gonzaga's nice. I don't see anyone taking them down. They're too good.
Yeah, I mean, when BYU shoots 70% in the first half against them and still can't get it done, it's tough to see anyone else doing anything about it. So, anyways, we're looking at the East region in this one. So let's get into it with the first game being Michigan with the Wolverines versus Texas Southern. Texas Southern just having played the play-in game against Mount St. Mary's. I'm going to be going really with the analytics that look at Isaiah Livers being out. It's tough to see a Michigan team without their star player and how they're going to perform. You've seen them struggle some games when they don't have that offensive firepower in the lineup. Texas Southern really impressed me, only turning the ball over 5 times in the play-in game and coming back from a double-digit deficit there in the second half. I think that overall, Texas Southern can shoot the three enough and kind of keep in close contact. I don't know if Michigan's going to be able to just flat out score enough to cover the big spread. So for that reason, without Livers, I'm going to be taking Texas Southern plus a 25.5, but Michigan to move on.
The 8-9 matchup we're going to look at in this region is St. Bonaventure taking on LSU. The Bonnies are an elite team in college basketball on the defensive end, no matter what stat you really look at. They should also cause problems for LSU's leading scorer, who's already slightly inefficient at just 40.5% from the field. And the Bonnies are pretty deep with all 5 starters averaging double-digit scoring. So with that, we're going to take the Bonnies +1 and also their money line, and then to move on to the next round.
With the third game in the region, we got Colorado versus Georgetown, the Buffaloes versus the Hoyas. Colorado, a great free throw shooting team, averaging about 82%. They also are going to have the best player on the floor here with McKinley Wright. He's been a great Pac-12 force all year against many different opponents. Colorado also is very decent at holding onto the ball, only turning it over 11 times a game compared to Georgetown's 15, which has let them down a lot this season. They've had a great stretch there towards the end of the season, winning the Big East to get here, but that also has hurt them a lot throughout the season. Colorado also has a lot better defense than Georgetown, holding opponents to 63 points a game, and Georgetown only gives up 70, which is not the best. They lost to a lot of mediocre teams this year. For that reason, I'm going to trust McKinley Wright and the Buffaloes to cover the 6 points in this game and move on. In the fourth game of this East region, we're looking at Florida State versus UNCG. Florida State has some depth. 10 guys are averaging 8 minutes or more a game. In addition, Florida State has a solid offense. They've let down a few times in some upsets this year, but they're averaging 47% from the field and 39% from three. That's just tough to beat. In addition, UNCG, in order, like I said, to get an upset, you really need some 3 point shots to go in, and a lot of them in a hurry. UNCG only shoots at 30% from 3 point range. They trust a lot in their 2 point field goal percentage. So for that reason, I'm going to go with Florida State minus the 10.5 in this one and to move on.
The next game we're going to look at is UCLA taking on BYU, which we saw UCLA play in the playing game the other day, where they really weren't that impressive. I feel like Michigan State did more to lose that game than UCLA did to win, but they moved on, so credit to them. But BYU definitely has a better defense, unlike Michigan State, which should be able to slow UCLA down even more. And also UCLA's Juzong was hurt, rolled his ankle at the end of that game, and he should come into this game banged up, so they won't be 100%. So we're going to take BYU to move on to the next round, and also for them to cover the -4.5. The next game we're going to look at is Abilene Christian taking on Texas. The big thing to look at with this game is Abilene Christian forces the most turnovers in the nation with over 20 turnovers per game, and Texas also bottom third in the nation with turnovers per game, so they do struggle with that. Abilene Christian also has pretty decent size to match Texas's big bodies. So we're going to take Abilene Christian to cover 8.5 points, but Texas ultimately moves on to the next round. The 7-10 game in this region is Maryland taking on the UConn Huskies. UConn is definitely streaking at the right time with them winning 7 of their last 8, and the one loss came without RJ Cole, and they're expecting him back for the tournament, and he's critical to their success because he is highest scorer behind Book Knight and also their top 3-point shooter. So getting him back would definitely be important for them. So we're going to take UConn to cover 3 points and move on to the next.
With the last game in the region, we're looking at Alabama versus Iona. Iona's made the tournament quite a few times in their history, but they're here with a new coach, Rick Pitino, who you're used to seeing in the tournament year in, year out, and he has them in some pretty solid form. Alabama, though, is no joke. They have one of the best three-point shooting teams in the country, averaging 10.7 threes a game. The one thing, though, that Iona does really well is not give up threes. They only give up 6.1 threes a game, and they allow their opponents to only shoot 30.1% from deep. In addition, Iona's grabbing a +6 rebound margin, and Alabama, even though with their solid defense, is only averaging about 2 on the plus rebound margin. Both teams turn the ball over quite a bit, 14 and 15 times per game there, respectively. Iona shoots 44.5% from the field and also holds opponents to 39% from the field, which I think is going to be in their advantage in this one. Like I said, Alabama elite from 3, but I think Iona is going to hold them to probably right around just the 10-point mark from a perspective of they're just not going to get blown out. They're going to keep it close. So I'm looking at Iona plus 16.5 is a play here, and then Alabama to move on. Canes, give us the rundown of our best bets. Recap it for us.
All right, the recap, we got Texas Southern plus 25.5 against Michigan. We got the Bonnies winning outright and covering the +1 spread. We then got Colorado -6 versus Georgetown. Then we got Florida State covering 10.5 points versus UNCG. Then we got BYU beating play-in winner UCLA by at least 4.5. Then we got Abilene Christian taking on Texas, covering the 8.5 points there. Then UConn is going to cover 3 points versus the Terrapins. And then finally, Iona keeping it close with Alabama, covering plus 16.5.
All right, cool. Thank you very much, Canes. And hopefully we can keep some winners rolling on for everybody. We'll be back with the next region to end the round of 64. I always mess that up. But anyways, have a good day. Hopefully we can win some more bets. And it's been exciting, man. Lots of upsets. We'll see you guys soon.